Let's talk about a simple idea that has quietly changed countless lives: the 70-30 rule. It comes from the wisdom of Jim Rohn, a renowned thinker in personal development. But don't worry, this isn't just another rule for accountants or number crunchers. It's actually a guiding principle that anyone can use, no matter how much or how little you earn. Think of it as a blueprint for lasting wealth. Not just in your wallet, but in your sense of security and peace of mind. So, what exactly is the 70-30 rule? At its heart, it's about how you divide up every dollar you make. Jim Rohn's advice was simple: live on 70% of your income, and use the remaining 30% to build your future and give back. That's it. But behind that simplicity is a mindset shift that's more powerful than you might expect. You see, most of us grow up thinking that wealth depends on how much we can make. If we just earn a little more, we'll finally have enough. But the truth is, wealth isn't just about your paycheck. It's about how you manage what comes into your hands. You can make six figures and still feel broke every month if you're not mindful. On the flip side, you can earn a modest income and build genuine wealth if you have a system for how you spend and save. That's where the 70-30 rule really shines. It takes all the complexity out of money management and boils it down to something you can actually follow. 70% for living, 30% for your future and for others. It's a framework that keeps you from drifting into bad habits, but it's also flexible enough to work with almost any lifestyle. Imagine this for a second. Picture two friends, Sarah and Mike. Sarah spends as she pleases. She just follows her impulses, dining out when she feels like it, buying new clothes online late at night, upgrading her phone the moment a new one drops. There's no plan, just living in the moment. By the end of the month, her paycheck is gone. There's nothing left to show for it except maybe a few fleeting memories and a growing sense of stress. Now, think about Mike. He makes about the same as Sarah, but he follows the 70-30 rule. Every paycheck, he automatically sets aside that 30% before he does anything else. What's left is what he lives on. He plans his meals, resists splurging on every new gadget, and saves up for the things that really matter to him. His lifestyle might look simpler from the outside, but inside, he feels calmer, more in control, even hopeful about the future. The difference between Sarah and Mike isn't about how much money they start with. It's about their habits. It's about intention. And it's about the boundaries that the 70-30 rule creates. Jim Rohn used to say, "It's not the amount that counts, it's the plan." And that's what this rule offers, a plan that's easy to remember and, when you stick to it, incredibly effective. You don't need to track every penny obsessively. You just need to know your limits and stick within them. Let's be honest, most people don't have a plan. We get paid, we spend, and then we wonder where it all went. Impulse drives so many of our decisions, especially when money is involved. One small purchase turns into 5, a fancy dinner here, a shopping spree there. Before you know it, you're living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how hard you work. But the 70-30 rule interrupts that cycle. It sets a clear cap on spending, 70%, no more. It's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, "This is what I have to work with." Suddenly, you're not just reacting to every want or temptation. You're making choices. You're deciding where your money goes instead of letting it slip through your fingers. What's beautiful about this is that it doesn't demand perfection. It's not about denying yourself every pleasure or living an austere life. It's about being conscious, about stepping back and asking, is this in the 70%? Does this fit the plan? And if it doesn't, maybe it can wait. Or maybe it just isn't as important as it felt in the moment. People who follow this rule often find that money isn't as stressful as it used to be. They feel more confident. They sleep better at night because they know they have a system that works. It's not magic, it's just smart boundaries. And here's another thing. The 70-30 rule isn't just about financial security. It's about freedom. When you're not chained to every paycheck, when you're not panicking about bills or emergencies, you feel lighter. You start to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You can say yes to things that matter, travel, learning something new, helping a friend, because you know your foundation is strong. Jim Rohn believed that if you can't manage a little, you won't manage a lot. It's not the size of your income, but your habits that make the difference. So if you're just starting out, or if you're feeling overwhelmed by your finances, this rule is a lifeline. It's a reminder that you can build real wealth, step by step, choice by choice. Let's return to Sarah and Mike for a moment. A year goes by. Sarah gets a raise. She celebrates with a new car, more nights out, a bigger apartment. But somehow, she still feels stuck in the same old rut. She's making more but saving nothing. Meanwhile, Mike also earns a little more, but his habits stay the same. He keeps living on 70%, he just has a bit more room to breathe. His savings grow, his investments start to compound, and now, he's able to give more generously to causes he cares about. His life feels richer, in every sense of the word. This is the power of the 70-30 rule. It's not about restriction. It's about intentionality. It transforms your relationship with money from something stressful or chaotic into something purposeful and empowering. And that's the foundation of real wealth. Not the fleeting pleasure of a big purchase, but the quiet confidence that comes from having a plan and sticking to it. Every paycheck becomes an opportunity. Every spending decision is a chance to move closer to the life you want. So, whether you're just starting your financial journey or looking to get back on track, the 70-30 rule is a compass you can trust. It's simple, memorable, and, if you allow it, life-changing. In the end, wealth isn't just a number in your bank account. It's the freedom, the security, and the sense of purpose you build by being thoughtful with what you have. And that's exactly what this rule is all about. All right, let's dive into the practical heart of the 70-30 rule, learning to live comfortably, and even happily, on just 70% of your income. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, live on less than I make. Won't that feel restrictive? What if I have to cut out everything I enjoy? But here's the truth, living on less isn't about living with less joy. It's really about living with more intention. So, how do you actually do it? How do you go from spending without thinking, to mindfully choosing where your money goes, and still feel satisfied, even abundant? Let's break it down together. First, what does it mean to live on 70%? Think of your income like a pie. Jim Rohn suggests you only eat 70% of it. The rest? You save, invest, and give away. But we'll get to that soon. So for now, your focus is on that 70%. That's your new spending cap. It doesn't matter how much you make, whether it's a little or a lot, this rule scales. It's about discipline, not deprivation. The magic happens when you start to think of your spending in terms of priorities, not just price tags. Let's start with the basics. What really matters to you? What expenses are essential, and what are just habits or impulses? Take a moment and think about your daily routine. The coffee runs, the streaming subscriptions, the online shopping, the quick meals when you're tired. Which of these actually make your life better, and which just fill a temporary craving? Mindful spending starts with awareness. Most of us spend on autopilot, swiping a card or tapping a phone and never really feeling the transaction. But every dollar is a choice, a small vote for the kind of life you want to live. So, how do you get mindful? The first step is to track. For just 1 month, write down everything you spend. Not just the big bills, everything. Groceries, gas, app downloads, snacks, the works. You might be surprised by what you find. Often, it's the little things that add up most. That $5 latte, 3 days a week? Over $700 a year. A few streaming services you barely use? That's another few hundred. Awareness is powerful. Once you see where your money really goes, you can start to make choices that actually serve your happiness and well-being. Next, set clear priorities. Not all spending is equal. There are essentials, housing, food, utilities, transportation. Then there are nice-to-haves, and then there are did I really need that kind of purchases. Ask yourself, if you had to trim, what would you truly miss? Which things are worth every penny, and which could you swap, shrink, or skip? Maybe you love dining out with friends, but you could cut back on takeout during the week. Or you cherish your gym membership, but realize you don't need 5 different clothing subscriptions. The point isn't to cut everything. It's to spend with intention. You get to decide what's worth it to you. Now, let's talk about emotional spending. It happens to all of us. Long day? Maybe you treat yourself to some online shopping. Feeling bored? Scroll, click, buy. Or maybe you see a new gadget or a trendy jacket and think, I deserve this. There's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. The problem is when spending becomes a way to fill an emotional gap instead of serving a true need or lasting desire. So, before you buy, ask yourself, am I buying this because I really need or want it? Or am I trying to change how I feel? A simple pause, even for a minute or two, can be enough to break the cycle. If you're not sure, wait 24 hours before making a purchase. Chances are, if you forget about it, it wasn't that important. You'll be amazed at how much money you save, not by saying no to everything, but by saying yes only to what matters. Now, another trap that catches many people is lifestyle inflation. Ever heard of it? It's when your expenses rise each time your income does. You get a raise, and suddenly your car is a little nicer, your trips more frequent, your apartment a little bigger. It feels natural. After all, you earned it. But if you're not careful, you end up always chasing the next thing, and your savings never grow. The 70-30 rule guards you against this. No matter how much you make, you stick to 70%. So, as your income rises, your lifestyle can improve a little, but your wealth grows even faster. This practice is the real secret to feeling richer every year, not just looking richer. Let's get practical for a moment. How do you structure your spending so you actually live within your 70%? Start with a simple budget. Not a rigid, complicated spreadsheet, just a clear plan. List your take-home income. Multiply by 0.7, that's your new spending limit. Now, subtract your essentials, rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation. What's left is for everything else: entertainment, dining out, shopping, hobbies. If the numbers don't fit, don't panic. This is where the art comes in, finding ways to trim without feeling deprived. First, see where you can cut costs without losing quality of life. Maybe it's switching to a more affordable phone plan, or cooking more meals at home and saving restaurants for special moments. Perhaps you can swap expensive outings for free activities with friends, like hiking or game nights. Remember, living below your means doesn't mean living below your happiness. The goal is to cut waste, not joy. Another strategy? Automate your money. The moment your paycheck comes in, set up automatic transfers for savings, investments, and giving. What's left is yours to spend, guilt-free, because you know your future is already taken care of. Automation makes discipline effortless. You don't have to rely on willpower every day. You set up your priorities once, and they happen in the background. Let's not forget about the mental benefits of this way of living. When you know your spending is under control, you sleep better at night. Financial stress fades, and you gain a sense of security. There's freedom in knowing you're not living paycheck to paycheck, always one emergency away from disaster. That peace of mind. It's worth far more than any new gadget or fleeting luxury. And over time, something incredible happens. The less you rely on mindless spending for happiness, the more creative you become at finding joy in the simple things. A walk in the park, a homemade meal, a laugh with friends, these become your richest experiences. You start noticing how much abundance is already in your life. You develop gratitude, and that gratitude becomes a kind of wealth all its own. Let's talk about some real-world tips to make this even easier. Tip 1. Review your subscriptions regularly. It's easy to sign up for a service and forget about it. Once a month, scan your statements and cancel anything you no longer use. Tip 2. Shop with a list, and stick to it. Impulse buys are the #1 budget killer. If you go into a store or shop online, decide in advance what you need, and challenge yourself not to add anything extra. Tip 3. Embrace the wait rule. For bigger purchases, set a waiting period, maybe 1 week for anything over $100. Give yourself time to really consider if the item adds value to your life. Tip 4. Celebrate the small wins. Did you skip an unnecessary purchase? Did you cook at home instead of ordering out? Acknowledge it. Building new habits is about reinforcing positive choices, not beating yourself up over slips. Tip 5. Find a budgeting tool or app that you actually enjoy using. The right tool makes tracking easy and even satisfying. There's something rewarding about seeing your progress in real time. And finally, Tip 6. Reframe cutting back as making room. You're not just giving up spending, you're creating space for goals that matter, like security, freedom, and generosity. Now, let's address a worry many people have. What if there's an emergency? What if I need more than 70% one month? Life happens. Unexpected expenses come up, a car repair, a medical bill, an urgent trip. The good news is, the 70-30 rule actually protects you. Because you're saving and investing part of your income, you will gradually build an emergency fund that acts as your financial cushion. Over time, this buffer means you don't have to panic when life throws you a curveball. You handle it, regroup, and get right back on track. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Some months will be easier than others. But each step you take toward mindful spending makes you stronger, more resilient, and more in control. And here's something you might not expect. The more intentional you get with your money, the more intentional you become with your time, your energy, even your relationships. You start asking, does this add value? Does this serve my goals, or is it just noise? That clarity spills into every area of your life. So, if you're worried that living on 70% will make you feel deprived, give it a try. Track your spending, set your priorities, and commit for just a month. Notice how it feels. Chances are, you'll discover you don't miss most of what you cut. A lot of it was never making you truly happy in the first place. Instead, you'll begin to experience a sense of control, gratitude, and freedom that money alone can't buy. Let's recap the core ideas. First, awareness is everything. Know where your money goes. Second, prioritize spending that truly adds value. Third, resist the urge to spend emotionally or automatically. Give yourself space before making purchases. Fourth, don't let your lifestyle automatically inflate with your income. Let your savings and investments grow faster instead. Fifth, use systems and tools to make the whole process easier and more consistent. Living on 70% isn't a punishment, it's a strategy. It's a path to security, peace of mind, and eventually, real wealth. It's about building a life where you control your money, rather than letting your money, or your impulses, control you. And perhaps most importantly, it's about making space for what really matters. When you spend less on things that don't last, you have more for the goals and dreams that do. So, the art of smart spending is really the art of intentional living. It's asking, with every dollar, is this moving me toward the life I want, or away from it? As you practice this, you'll find that living below your means doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like wisdom. It feels like empowerment. And as the months go by, you'll watch your savings grow, your stress shrink, and your appreciation for the simple things in life deepen. If you're ready to try it, start small. Pick 1 or 2 expenses to cut or swap. Automate your savings. Track your progress and celebrate your wins. Remember, true wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how you manage what you have. The journey starts with the very next decision you make. So, what will you choose? So, if living on 70% of your income is the art of smart spending, what about the remaining 30%? That's where the real magic of the 70-30 rule comes in. This final piece of the puzzle isn't just about putting money away for a rainy day. It's about intentionally shaping your financial future and doing good along the way. Let's break it down together, step by step. Imagine you get your paycheck in. After calculating, you know exactly how much 70% covers. That's your lifestyle bucket: rent, groceries, bills, the essentials, and maybe a few treats here and there. But now, you've got this 30% left, set aside on purpose. This part is not for spending, it's for building, protecting, and sharing. When Jim Rohn shared the 70-30 rule, he didn't just mean save a little. He meant to divide that 30% thoughtfully among three main areas: saving, investing, and giving. Each serves a different purpose, and together, they provide balance and momentum to your wealth journey. Let's look at each and why they matter. First up, saving. This is your safety net. It's your peace of mind when life throws you a curveball, a car breakdown, a medical bill, or even a sudden job loss. Think of it as your personal insurance policy, but with more control. Having a dedicated emergency fund can mean the difference between weathering a storm calmly or spiraling into panic and debt. How much should go here? While everyone's situation is unique, a good rule of thumb is to aim for at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses in an easily accessible account. It sounds like a lot, but remember, this is built up over time. The goal is to have enough savings set aside that you're not living paycheck to paycheck, always one crisis away from a setback. But saving alone won't build wealth. That's where investing comes in. Investing is all about making your money work for you. It's taking a portion of that 30% and putting it into vehicles that grow over time, like stocks, mutual funds, retirement accounts, or even real estate. The idea is to harness the power of compound interest. As your investments earn money, those earnings generate even more growth. Over years, this can transform a small, steady stream of contributions into a river. I know, for many people, investing can sound complicated or intimidating. But it doesn't have to be. Start simple. If your workplace offers a retirement plan, like a 401k, consider contributing enough to get any matching funds. Think of it as free money. If you're new to investing, there are lots of resources and tools out there to help you learn the basics, and many options now allow you to get started with even small amounts. The key isn't trying to pick the next big stock, but instead, building a habit of regularly investing, month after month, year after year. So, you save to protect yourself and invest to grow your resources. But Jim Rohn believed there's a third piece, equally vital to the puzzle of wealth: giving. Let's talk about generosity. At first glance, it might seem strange to include giving as a financial strategy alongside saving and investing. But think of it this way: wealth isn't just about accumulation. It's about impact. When you give, whether it's a donation to a cause you care about, supporting your community, or simply helping someone in need, you're participating in a cycle that enriches everyone involved, including yourself. Giving does more than just help others. Studies have shown that generosity, in any form, is linked to greater personal happiness and satisfaction. Jim Rohn often spoke about how giving moves you from a mindset of scarcity, constantly worrying there isn't enough, to one of abundance, where you feel secure enough to share. When we're generous, we reinforce our own resourcefulness and trust in ourselves. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually divide that 30% between saving, investing, and giving? The answer isn't one size fits all. Your split will depend on your stage of life, your goals, and your current financial situation. For some, it might be half towards savings, a quarter to investing, and a quarter to giving. For others, especially as they become more established, investing might take a bigger share, with savings and giving balanced accordingly. The most important thing is to be intentional. Make a decision, write it down, and make it automatic if you can. Set up transfers or recurring contributions, so you don't have to rely on willpower alone. Let's get a bit more practical. Say you make $4,000 a month after taxes. 70%, or $2,800, covers your bills and living expenses. That leaves $1,200, your 30%. You might decide to put $600 into a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund. $400 could go into your retirement or investment account, and $200 goes toward charitable donations or supporting causes close to your heart. Month after month, these seemingly small choices add up, and they start to change your financial trajectory. And remember, generosity doesn't have to mean money alone. If your budget is tight, giving your time or skills can be just as meaningful. Volunteer, mentor, help a neighbor. These are all ways of giving that create real value in the world and in your life. Why does splitting the 30% matter so much? It comes down to diversification. By spreading your resources between savings, investments, and giving, you protect yourself from the unexpected, set yourself up for long-term growth, and stay connected to your community and values. Each area reinforces the others. Saving gives you stability, so you're not vulnerable to emergencies. Investing builds for the future, so you have more to work with as years go by. And giving keeps you grounded, grateful, and engaged with the world around you. There's also a psychological benefit. When you have a plan for that 30%, you feel more in control. Instead of money slipping through your fingers, you see it going to work, keeping you safe, helping you grow, and making a difference for others. This kind of financial clarity is empowering. It quiets anxiety and helps you focus on what truly matters. Let's dive a little deeper into each part, just to make sure nothing gets lost in the details. For saving, the focus is on liquidity and safety. This isn't about chasing high returns, it's about having funds you can access quickly and without penalty if something unexpected pops up. High-yield savings accounts, money market accounts, or even a simple checking account work well here. The main thing is that this money is there when you need it, no questions asked. A practical tip: keep your emergency fund separate from your main spending account. Out of sight, out of mind. This makes it less tempting to dip into it for non-emergencies. For investing, patience is your best friend. Markets go up and down, but over time, they tend to reward those who stay the course. If you're new, consider set it and forget it options like index funds or target date retirement funds, which do the heavy lifting for you. Automation is powerful here too. Set up regular, automatic contributions so investing becomes a habit, not a chore. And for giving, the most rewarding approach is often personal. Think about what matters most to you. Is it education, health, your local neighborhood, animal welfare, social justice? Find ways to contribute that match your values. This isn't just about tax deductions or writing a check, it's about becoming part of something larger than yourself. Here's a little secret: giving actually multiplies your wealth in ways that aren't always measured in dollars. When you give, you often find doors opening, new opportunities, new connections, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. It's a kind of return on investment that money alone can't match. So, if you're feeling apprehensive about splitting up your 30%, remember, it's not about deprivation, but about design. You're designing a life where you're protected, prepared, and participating. You're taking control, rather than letting circumstances or impulses dictate your future. And this approach can evolve as you do. Early on, you might focus heavily on savings, especially if you don't have a solid emergency fund yet. As that safety net grows, more can shift toward investing, which unlocks long-term growth. Over time, as your wealth builds, your capacity to give expands, too. The balance changes, but the principle stays the same. Let's talk about some common hurdles. Maybe you're wondering, what if my income varies? Or, what if I'm already behind? Or even, I've never invested before, am I too late to start? The answer to all of these: start where you are. The magic of the 70-30 rule isn't in perfection, it's in progress. Even setting aside a few dollars here and there gets you moving. The habit is much more important than the amount. If your income changes month to month, work with percentages instead of fixed numbers. Whatever comes in, apply the 70-30th split. Some months will be leaner, some more generous. Over time, it evens out. If you're starting late or catching up, focus first on building that emergency fund. Once you have a few months of expenses safely tucked away, slowly layer in investing and giving. This isn't a race. It's a journey. Don't overlook giving, even if it's small at first. The habit of generosity is powerful, whether it's $5 or $500. What matters is the intention behind it. You might be surprised at the ripple effects. Let's say you start giving even a small amount each month. Over time, you notice a shift in how you see money, not as something to constantly chase or hold tightly, but as a tool for connection and contribution. This change in perspective can spill over into other areas of your life, leading to more gratitude, stronger relationships, and even a greater sense of meaning. And remember, the line between saving, investing, and giving isn't always rigid. Sometimes, the actions you take can serve more than one purpose. For instance, investing in your own education or skills could fit under investing, but it also increases your ability to give and support others over time. Giving time or expertise is a gift that pays dividends in community and satisfaction, even if the financial outlay is small. Let's recap the three elements and why they matter so much together. Saving is your shield. It keeps you safe from life storms, so emergencies don't become catastrophes. Investing is your engine. It builds wealth quietly in the background, using time and compound growth to turn today's effort into tomorrow's freedom. Giving is your compass. It keeps you grounded in your values and open to possibility, enriching both your life and the world around you. Each part supports the others. Too much focus on just one, and things can get out of balance. If you save everything and never invest, your money loses value over time. If you invest but never save, an emergency can wipe out your progress. If you build wealth but never give, life can feel empty, no matter how high your bank balance climbs. Balance is what makes the 70-30 rule powerful. Now, let's get honest, sometimes, setting aside 30% can feel like a stretch, especially if you're starting out or have heavy responsibilities. That's okay. Maybe you start with 10% or 15% and build up over time. The important thing is to have the vision and to take small steps that move you closer to it. Consistency always beats intensity. Technology can help. Use budgeting apps or bank tools to track automatically. Set up recurring transfers on payday, so the money moves before you're tempted to spend it. Make it as easy as possible to stay on course. If you find yourself struggling, revisit your spending. Are there areas where you can trade convenience or short-term pleasure for long-term security and growth? Sometimes, even small changes, like cooking at home more often or negotiating a bill, can free up dollars for your 30%. And don't go it alone. Talk about your 70-30th plan with a partner, a friend, or even in an online community. The journey is easier with support and accountability. Let's imagine your future self for a moment. You've made these choices, month after month, saving, investing, giving. At first, the numbers feel small. But over time, you notice changes. An unexpected expense comes up, and instead of panic, you handle it with funds you've set aside. Your investments begin to grow, almost quietly, in the background. And the causes or people you support through giving, they remind you of your place in something bigger, and your ability to make a difference. This is what the 70-30 rule is all about, not just surviving, but thriving. Not just building wealth, but building meaning. So, as you think about your own finances, ask yourself, what would it look like to divide that 30% in a way that reflects your needs, your goals, and your values? Where can you start, today? The beauty of this rule is its flexibility. It adapts to every income, every life stage, every dream. You're not waiting for one day to make progress, you're building your foundation now, in every choice you make. Remember, wealth is more than a number on a statement. It's confidence, security, and the quiet power to shape your own life and give back to others. By intentionally allocating that 30% to saving, investing, and giving, you're setting yourself up for a future that's not just rich in dollars, but rich in life. Let this be your invitation. Don't just let money happen to you. Give every dollar a job. Build your safety net. Grow your resources. And give generously, knowing that true wealth is a cycle, not a finish line. Small steps, taken consistently, add up. The 70-30 rule is your blueprint. Now, it's your turn to put it to work. Now, let's dive even deeper into the part of the 70-30 rule that most people overlook, giving. A lot of us think of giving as something you do only if you have extra, or maybe just around the holidays. But Jim Rohn saw it differently. To him, generosity is not an optional add-on. It's an essential ingredient in building real, lasting wealth. Not just financial wealth, but also the kind that fills your life with meaning, joy, and connection. Think about it. When you look back at the happiest, most fulfilled people you know, what stands out? Is it just the size of their bank account? Or is it also the way they show up for others? The way they give their time, their resources, or just a helping hand to those in need? Jim Rohn believed that giving is what multiplies the value of what we have. It's not just a moral obligation, or something you do to check off a box. It's a mindset, a way of moving through the world that actually expands your wealth in ways money alone never could. Let's explore how this works, and why generosity, even on a small scale, has ripple effects that come back to you in powerful, often unexpected ways. First, let's talk about the practical side. Sometimes, people worry that if they start giving, whether that's tithing to a cause, helping a friend, or donating to charity, they'll have less left over for themselves. That's a totally reasonable thought. But, over and over again, people who make giving a regular part of their financial life find that their overall sense of abundance actually increases, not decreases. It might sound a little counterintuitive, but it's true. I'll give you an example. There's a story about a woman named Carla, who started out giving just $10 a month to a local food pantry. At first, it felt like a stretch. She wasn't earning much, and every dollar was spoken for. Still, she made that small commitment. She set it up as an automatic transfer, so she wouldn't have to think about it. A few months later, something shifted. She noticed she was paying more attention to her spending habits overall. She started feeling more in control of her money. And, almost without realizing it, she began to feel less anxious about her finances. When she looked at her budget, she realized she hadn't missed that $10 at all. In fact, she felt a strange, new sense of security, an internal knowing that she could always find a little extra, not just for herself, but to help someone else. That's the first way giving multiplies wealth. It shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Instead of focusing only on what's leaving, you start feeling grateful for what you have. You start to see yourself as someone who has enough to share, even if that enough is just a few dollars or a couple of hours of your time. This shift in mentality creates what Jim Rohn called the law of sowing and reaping. When you plant seeds, whether that's money, time, or kindness, they don't just vanish. They grow. They come back to you, often in ways you least expect. Sometimes, it's direct, like helping a neighbor, and later having them help you out. Other times, it's indirect. Maybe you donate to a cause, and down the road you meet a new friend or business contact through that organization. Or you give a little, and find your own stress reduced, your happiness increased, simply because you've chosen to look beyond your own needs. It's not magic, but it is a kind of invisible return on investment. Let's go a little deeper. Generosity isn't just about writing a check or sending money. It's about creating connections with other people. Think about a time when you helped someone out, maybe covered a meal, gave someone a ride, or just listened when they needed to talk. How did you feel afterwards? Chances are, you walked away feeling a little lighter, maybe even proud. That's because generosity triggers our brain's reward system. It releases chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine, which make us feel good. This is what psychologists call the helper's high. So, in a very real sense, giving pays you back immediately. Not in cash, but in emotional well-being. And over time, as you make giving a habit, that feeling grows stronger. You start looking for opportunities to help. You become more open, more connected, and more trusted by the people around you. Now, let's look at how this can impact your financial life, too. When you become known as someone who helps, who gives without expecting anything in return, you start to build a powerful network. People remember the kindness you show them. They're more likely to recommend you for opportunities, support you in tough times, or simply speak well of you to others. That kind of reputation is valuable. It's not something you can buy, but you can earn it, one generous act at a time. I'll share another story to make this real. There's a businessman named Sam who built his small company on the principle of giving back. Whenever a client reached a milestone, he'd send a handwritten note and a small, thoughtful gift. He supported local nonprofits. He offered internships to students who needed a foot in the door. At first, people told him he was being too generous, that it would cut into his profits. But Sam kept going. And over the years, his business not only grew, but also became a hub for referrals, loyal clients, and employees who really cared about the company mission. Sam often said the best investment he ever made wasn't in the stock market, it was in people. By giving first, he built a well of goodwill that paid dividends for decades. That's another way giving multiplies wealth. It deepens your relationships, and those relationships create opportunities you might never have imagined. Sometimes, the returns are financial, but more often, they show up as friendship, support, and a sense of belonging that money can't buy. There's something powerful about knowing you can make a difference for someone else, even if it's small, even if nobody else notices. That sense of purpose is, in itself, a kind of wealth. Jim Rohn put it this way: only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have. He believed that the act of giving opens you up to greater possibilities in your finances, in your relationships, and in your own heart. Let's talk about another aspect of giving: generosity as an antidote to fear. A lot of us hold back from giving because we're worried we won't have enough left. And it's true, being careful with your resources is important. But when you choose to give, even when it feels a little uncomfortable, you prove to yourself that you're bigger than your fears. You remind yourself that there's always enough, and that your value isn't tied to hoarding every last penny. This courage, over time, builds confidence. It allows you to take smart risks, pursue new opportunities, and trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. And that confidence has a way of attracting new abundance, too. People are drawn to those who give freely. It signals strength and self-assurance. It tells the world, I have enough, and I believe there's more where that came from. Now, let's be honest, sometimes, giving stretches us. Sometimes we may feel like our contribution is too small to matter. But here's the thing, there's no such thing as a meaningless act of generosity. Every time you choose to give, you're making a statement about the kind of person you are and the kind of world you want to live in. Those small acts add up. They create a ripple effect. You never know when your generosity will inspire someone else to give, or when it will come back to you in an unexpected way. There's a great story about a teacher, Ms. Lopez, who started a tradition in her classroom. At the start of every week, she'd encourage her students to each do one small act of kindness for someone else. Sometimes it was sharing a snack. Sometimes it was helping pick up books. At the end of the year, the notes of appreciation piled up. Students said those small gestures made them feel seen and valued. Parents started participating, too. Ms. Lopez noticed that not only did classroom behavior improve, but the whole atmosphere changed. It became a place where people looked out for each other. All because of a simple habit of giving. That's the multiplying power of generosity. It doesn't just benefit the receiver. It spreads through a community, creating a culture of support and connection. Now, you might ask, how does this tie back to financial wealth? Well, when you build a habit of giving, you're training yourself to manage your money with intention. You're saying, I'm going to carve out a portion of what I have, however small, for something beyond myself. This makes you more disciplined with the rest of your spending. It encourages you to look for ways to spend smarter, so you have more left over to give. And over time, as your financial situation improves, your capacity to give grows, too. One of the most powerful things you can do for your own financial growth is to practice generosity before you feel totally ready. Don't wait until you have a huge surplus. Start small. If giving away 10% feels like too much, start with 1%. If money is tight, give your time, your skills, or your attention. The important thing is to make giving a regular, intentional part of your life, not just something you do when it's convenient. Another benefit of this approach is that it keeps you grounded. No matter how much you earn, generosity is a constant reminder of what truly matters. It keeps you connected to your community. It keeps you humble. It helps prevent the kind of isolation and tunnel vision that sometimes comes with chasing financial success. At the end of the day, the true measure of wealth is not just what you accumulate, but what you're able to share. It's about living with open hands, not clenched fists. Jim Rohn often talked about the spirit of giving. He believed that generosity isn't just about meeting a need, it's about setting an example. It's about being a light in someone else's life, and trusting that the world will respond in kind. Sometimes, the rewards are immediate: a smile, a thank you, a grateful hug. Other times, the benefits show up years later, in ways you could never have planned. When you make giving a practice, you're making a long-term investment in both your own happiness and the well-being of others. And that's an investment that pays off over and over again. Let me ask you this: who in your life has given you something meaningful? Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, or a friend. Maybe it was a stranger who showed up at just the right moment. What impact did that act of generosity have on you? Chances are, it's something you still remember. Maybe it even changed the course of your life. That's the legacy of giving. We don't always realize the impact we have. But every time you choose to give, you're planting seeds that can grow into something much bigger. Even a small gesture can change the trajectory of someone's day or their entire future. Now, you might wonder, what if I'm not in a place to give a lot right now? That's okay. Generosity isn't about the amount. It's about the intention. It's about making giving a priority and trusting that your contribution, however small, matters. Over time, as your circumstances change, so will your capacity to give. But the habit, the spirit, of generosity will stay with you. Jim Rohn liked to say, "Giving is better than receiving because giving starts the receiving process." When you open your hands, when you share what you have, you tell the world that you're ready for more. You make space for new opportunities, new relationships, new forms of abundance. This is about more than just money. It's about your energy, your attention, your kindness. Every small act of generosity is an investment in your own growth and in the well-being of those around you. So, as you think about your own 70/30ths plan, I encourage you to reflect on what giving means to you. Maybe it's regular donations to a cause you care about. Maybe it's picking up the phone and checking in on a friend. Maybe it's sharing your expertise with someone just starting out. There are countless ways to give. Each one has the power to multiply, not just your wealth, but your sense of purpose and connection. Let's remember, true abundance isn't just the result of careful saving or smart investing. It's also the product of a generous heart. When you make giving a habit, you create a cycle of wealth that extends far beyond your own bank account. You build relationships, deepen your sense of meaning, and create a lasting legacy. And that, more than anything, is what turns financial freedom into true fulfillment. So, don't underestimate the multiplying power of generosity. It's the secret ingredient that transforms a simple budgeting rule into a blueprint for a richer, more rewarding life. And the best part? It's something you can start right now, no matter where you are on your financial journey. So, how can you start putting the 70-30 rule to work in your own life? Let's make it practical and personal, step by step. First, take a good, honest look at your finances. Don't worry, there's no judgment here, just curiosity. How much is actually coming in every month? Not what you wish it was, but the real numbers after taxes. Maybe it's a regular paycheck, or maybe it changes month to month. Add up everything, your salary, any freelance gigs, side hustles, even that birthday money. Get your true monthly income down on paper, or on a spreadsheet, or even just in your notes app. Now, let's see where it's all going. Track your spending for at least a month, if you haven't already. Every coffee, every late night takeout, every Amazon order. It adds up, sometimes in ways we don't even notice. You might be surprised by how much slips through the cracks. Break your spending down into categories, things like rent or mortgage, groceries, transportation, subscriptions, and the fun stuff. This isn't about feeling guilty over your spending. It's about getting clarity. Because clarity is power. Once you know where your money's going, you can start making intentional choices. Now, let's put the 70-30 rule into action. Take that monthly income number you wrote down. Multiply it by 0.7. That's your new spending limit, the maximum amount you'll use on living expenses, bills, and all those day-to-day costs. If you make $3,000 a month after taxes, 70% of that is $2,100. That's your cap for everything from rent to groceries to entertainment. And what about the rest? That's the magic 30%. This chunk isn't for spending, it's for saving, investing, and giving. Divide it up in a way that makes sense for your goals. Maybe 10% goes straight into your savings account. Another 15% might be invested for the future, into stocks, retirement funds, or real estate. And the final 5%? That's for giving back, however you choose. If those exact percentages don't fit your situation perfectly, that's okay. The main idea is to keep your spending comfortably below your income, and to always pay yourself and others first. Here's a tip: automate as much as you can. Set up automatic transfers so your savings and investments come out of your account right when you get paid. Then, whatever's left is yours to spend, guilt-free. This pay yourself first strategy removes the temptation to spend what you should be saving or giving. Now, let's talk about making your plan stick. Discipline is important, but it doesn't have to feel like punishment. Start small if you need to. Maybe you can't jump right into 70-30 this month. What about 80-20ths, or even 90-10ths? The key is to start where you are and build up gradually. Every single step in the right direction counts. Imagine how even a tiny shift, like saving an extra $50 a month, compounds over time. That's the beauty of this approach. Little actions, repeated, can change your life. Now, think about your spending. Ask yourself, what expenses actually bring you joy or real value? Which ones just fill a moment or follow a habit? Maybe it's time to cut out that streaming service you never use. Or finally start packing lunch a few days a week. Every dollar you save isn't just money in your pocket, it's energy you free up for what matters more. And it's not about deprivation. It's about aligning your spending with your real priorities. Now, for the saving and investing piece. If you don't already have an emergency fund, make that your first goal. Aim for at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses tucked away in a safe, accessible account. This safety net is what allows you to weather life storms, unexpected car repairs, medical bills, or even job changes without panic. Once you've got your emergency fund growing, start thinking long-term. Set up a retirement account if you don't have one. If your job offers a 401k match, grab that free money. Consider opening an individual retirement account or investing in a low-fee index fund. You don't need to be a financial expert. Just start small, stay consistent, and let time work its magic. Remember, investing isn't about timing the market. It's about time in the market. Those little monthly contributions add up, and compounding does the rest. Now, let's talk about the giving piece. This is so often overlooked, but it's where the real fulfillment comes in. You get to decide what giving means to you. Maybe it's donating to a cause you care about. Maybe it's supporting a friend in need, or helping a local school, or even surprising someone with an anonymous gift. The amount doesn't matter, it's the act of being generous with what you have. Giving reflects abundance, not scarcity. And it reminds you that wealth is about more than just numbers. So how do you keep all of this on track? Set specific, actionable goals for each bucket: spending, saving, investing, and giving. Write them down, or keep them somewhere you'll see often. Maybe your goal this year is to save $2,000 for emergencies, invest 10% of your income every month, and give $50 a month to charity. Break each big goal into bite-sized steps. Celebrate when you hit milestones along the way. Progress isn't always linear, and that's okay. If you slip up, just reflect and adjust, not punish yourself. Financial discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. And remember, there are lots of tools that can help. Budgeting apps are great for tracking where your money goes. Some banks let you create buckets or envelopes for different spending categories, so you can visually separate your funds. You can even use something as simple as a notebook or an envelope system with real cash. The right method is whatever works for you. The point is to make your plan visible and real. Share your goals with a trusted friend or partner, if that helps you stay accountable. Sometimes just saying your intentions out loud makes them feel more solid. And don't forget to review your progress regularly. Set a date once a month to look over your income, spending, savings, investments, and giving. Are you sticking to your 70% spending limit? Are you funding your savings and investments on schedule? Are you giving in a way that feels good and true to you? If something isn't working, adjust. Life changes, and your plan can too. Flexibility is your friend, not your enemy. And if you ever feel stuck or overwhelmed, remember that you're not alone. Financial change can feel daunting at first, but millions of people have started exactly where you are. Take it one step at a time. You don't need to have it all figured out right now. Just move forward, bit by bit. Over time, those small, consistent actions will add up to real, lasting change. Imagine how it'll feel a year from now: less stress, more security, and maybe even some extra joy from giving back. That's the power of the 70-30 rule. It's not about being perfect with your money. It's about being intentional with it. It's about deciding that your money will serve your goals and values, not the other way around. And it's about building a life that feels rich, in every sense of the word. So take a moment right now. What's one small step you can take today? Maybe it's tracking your spending for the week. Maybe it's setting up an automatic transfer to savings. Maybe it's choosing a cause to support, or having a conversation about money with someone you trust. Whatever it is, start now. Don't wait for the perfect time. Progress happens one choice at a time. And every choice you make in favor of your own financial well-being is a step toward more freedom, more options, and a more meaningful life. Keep going. You've got this. And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the kind of wealth that lasts, and the kind that truly matters.